Good day, nerds, and welcome to a Cantina Conversation, some interviews with some authors that took place back at C2E2, the Chicago Comic Convention. I think that was the last comic convention that existed before the world changed.
Yeah, we're gonna throw it back to the days of large crowds and massive amounts of people. Bring a little nostalgia to here. We've had these in the chamber for a while. Once COVID kind of hit, everybody's schedule got thrown up, so they've been sitting and waiting, and we want to make sure that we push those out. Megan did a good job of hunting down these authors and doing some good interviews, so we want to make sure that our audience hears them.
Yeah, so if you miss the sound of other people, then you'll hear the background noise as to these interviews were taken in the floor of the convention, so you can hear lots of people behind the interview taking place. If large crowds give you anxiety at this point in time, it might be difficult to hear.
And if you want to simulate like the con life, you could just have, people bump into you at your house while you listen to this and get that nice memory of a time where we weren't afraid to go out in public.
I guess we could just jump into the first interview from Megan, which was with Paul Erickson. And Paul Erickson has several different books that you can find over on Amazon. The one that they most focused on was the Wobbit, as he writes parody books, kind of making fun of Star Wars. In this example here, it's going off of the famous Hobbit stories of The Lord of the Rings.
So we are here with Paul Erickson, author of The Wobbit, the parody of Tolkien's The Hobbit. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me for a few minutes today. This book was goofy. I loved it. It was like,
yes.
I really enjoyed myself reading it, and it's funny because I do a lot of my reading while working out, so I try not to look like a huge dork laughing like at the gym, like while I'm on the machines and stuff.
Yay.
So no, I really appreciated it, and so yeah, it was a good read. So what inspired you to like write this story, or like what kind of research went into it? Like what made you like want to pick this up?
Well, I don't care for hard work, so it was 2008, and I was employed by Washington Mutual Bank. Great job, right up until they went out of business.
Oh, yeah.
And so it was kind of hard to get a job as a bank trainer in 2008.
Yeah.
And so my wife, God bless her, said, you know what, you clearly don't need 8 hours a day to not get interviews.
Yeah.
So why don't you write a book? You always so I thought, okay. And really, my all-time favorite book is The Hobbit. It's just so much fun and so goofy, and it's a kid's book, so it's right. I mean, I read it in the 7th grade, and I can read it at 8th grade level now, but that's about it. So I thought it would be fun to do a parody of that, because there's so many weird things about that book.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, there's no female characters. They have no weapons to kill this dragon that they intend to kill. They have no real way to get... They have one sort of element of a plan to get in, but no real plan.
Right.
And they have no way to get the loot home.
Yeah.
Other than that, Gandalf has got it all figured out. So, and by the way, it's all relying on a hobbit that they've never met.
Right.
So there was that. That was fun, and so I invented a new genre. I didn't realize it at the time, which I now define as office punk, which is any story set in a late 20th century office place environment.
Okay.
So Gandalf is more of a project manager.
Right.
Bilbo is a consultant, and Thorin and all the dwarves are literally every banker that I ever met. And there's a lot of just yelling and humiliating people.
I was kind of curious about how you came up with the idea to like, in the modern world, like what made you choose to make them bankers? But you just mentioned that as like that was your background.
Because that's what I know. That's what I know. And and it, like, and I didn't go to a lot of meetings. I was mostly training, so I was free from that. But yeah, Thorin, oh my God, loves a meeting.
Yeah.
And everyone would do anything, would chew their own leg off to get out of those meetings.
Right.
No, he was fun to write and terrible to his people, and it was fun. And then I always wondered, about the songs in the story because I worked 7 seasons at the Renaissance Fair.
Okay.
The Richards Fair was called back in the day.
Sure.
So I'm pretty familiar with old-timey English music. I didn't recognize any of the tunes that Tolkien might have been working.
Okay.
So I thought, that's no good. So I stuck with stuff that people would recognize, like Row, Row, Row. Did you recognize any of the songs?
I did.
Oh, thank heaven.
Yes.
That's such a relief.
Anything like the hi-ho, like...
I think the dwarf should sing hi-ho.
Right, no, that makes sense. It definitely fit. So, like, although, like, did you have any specific reasoning for, like, the names that you came up with for some of the parody characters? You kind of with it?
I worked a long time to figure out Wobbit. And I'd be happy to talk about how the Harvard Lampoon didn't work a long time to come up with the exact same name. But we don't have to talk about that. That's up to you.
No, we don't.
Yeah, so I listed potential names of the book and this key type of person in Middle Earth. And then, like, some of the goofy character names were real easy. Some of them were maybe a little forced.
Yeah.
So I renamed Gandalf Pants Off.
Yeah.
Does that mean anything? Does he take his pants off? No, it really, really doesn't, but I was just tired of working on it. So I went ahead
and,
with that.
you kind of wanted to go with the same, like, similar sounding so that it wasn't, the reader doesn't have to do too much work to recognize.
Right, not too much work.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, right. It's always about the sound. It really is.
Yeah.
Although the one name that I really liked was not until Super Friends of the Ring, where I renamed, I think, one of Bilbo's relations.
This one is about the first murder, and this one is
Irlobia Snackbag Bunkin. I think her name was Lobelia Sackville Baggins. Very excited about that. And then, of course, so...
No, it was really interesting just because I'm like looking through all these names and I'm just like how, it takes a certain level of creativity and I just, sometimes people, it just pops in their head, but sometimes, you want to there is a lot of thought that goes into it, or maybe there's not.
A little bit, yeah. And somehow that's something that people always notice.
Sure.
And most people like that, and then, I'll look on Amazon and all he did was he took the story and then put joke names to it. Well, no, I didn't.
Yeah. So you do read your own book reviews, or because some people stay away. Some authors just stay away from that, and so I guess it depends on your process, or if you haven't, any
I'm not all about external validation, but kind of.
That's great. Yeah.
And so I read them and I can put them in context. My favorite review was, well, first of all the reviews I get for someone else's book. That's annoying. I hated it. I didn't write that. Right. And then my favorite was very disappointing. The pages fell out right away. 1 star. It's like, okay, so I get that that's disappointing to have your book fall apart, but really you want to talk with Amazon about that.
Right, that's not your fault. You didn't put the book together.
Let me ship you out. No, I'm not going to do that.
Okay, so what was the most challenging aspect about writing this story? Because I think you did an excellent job emulating Tolkien's writing style.
Oh, thank you, because I really wanted to do that. I wanted, sort of like the sound of the names, I wanted it to sound like Tolkien.
Yeah. And it did.
I'm scared to death of ever writing my own book. It's like having a story arc and inventing stuff. Because I can very easily, modify stuff.
Right.
And honestly, I take the easy road in this stuff, and it was just so much fun that stuff weirdly fell together.
Sure.
Partially because it's a parody and Tolkien had already done all the hard work, but partially because human beings create connections whether they are there or not, and maybe that's the thing that I do better than any of the rest of it is seeing some connections. So that tended to work out better than I thought.
Yeah. Oh no, that's great. Because that's when you think about when speaking with different authors, this is the first interview that I'm doing with Parody, which is based off of someone else's work, and so it's really interesting to kind of reflect and go back and forth and see how your process might be different from someone like you were mentioning before who's coming up with a completely original idea. And so, no, you're owning the fact that you go through you take the easy road. And so, yeah, it's like, it was a challenge all in itself, almost, just to kind of. Did you feel a lot of pressure, or this was mostly fun for you?
The first one, I wanted to write something that I enjoyed, because I thought, okay, if I write something because I think it'll sell, and it doesn't sell, then I will have nothing.
Yeah.
But this, I wrote something that I thoroughly enjoyed, and then magically, it did sell.
Yeah.
And thanks to James Finn Garner, he was the guy that said, you got to put that on Kindle. Listen, it seems like a lot of hard work. And so, literally, he put it on Kindle for me.
Oh, wow.
And
it's a good friend.
Yeah, really good friend. and then I get an email from Munich saying, have you sold the international rights? And I thought, oh, this sounds fake. Because as an author, you get lots of people that want you to pay them to publish your book. But no, this was a guy from Pieper Verlag in Munich.
Wow.
And so he said, we'd like to buy the international rights, translate your book into German, and publish it here. And so they did. And this was like right when Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings was still sort of a big deal.
Okay.
So they were looking for something like that.
Yeah, so they were probably trying to monopolize on they were along for the ride.
Yeah, so there was no pressure. This was already written.
Yeah.
There was some pressure on this because they said, well, can you do something else? And I said, sure. Yeah, if you have the money.
Thanks for the next one.
So they took a huge bath on this, but they never asked for any of the money back. So Super Friends of the Ring. Great book, and if you were disappointed that Tom Bombadil didn't make it into the film version, I included him in Super Friends, and I rewrote him as the dude from The Big Lebowski.
Oh,
and
my
it's really
goodness.
solid.
I'll have to pick it up then.
And then so they said, you know what? We don't need any more Tolkien stuff, thanks. And I let it go, and then like a year and a half later, they said,
"Tell me that you're."
And this German guy, so he's speaking this wonderfully translated German. He said, Paul, would you be keen on writing a Star Wars parody? And I thought, oh my God, yes, I totally would. Again, the easy path. If he had said, could you write a Harry Potter parody? I'd say, maybe, but it can't come from the loving place that wrote the Hobbit.
Right,
because I've read those books, but I don't have any ownership of them.
Sure.
I saw Star Wars 9 times in 1977. So I'm totally into it.
Yeah.
And so, and I did a couple other things from them, and there was like a pressure of, they have a date that I need to submit this by.
Yeah.
But this sort of work turned out to be kind of formulaic for me, so it was just a lot of fun to do it. It's like more like joke writing.
Yeah.
More like joke writing, really.
It is fun. Yeah, I can imagine the process. I mean, I'm sure all authors have fun with what they do, but I feel like you were allowed to really have fun with it.
Oh my God, so incredibly lucky.
Yeah.
Really.
So are you going to finish the set?
I've tried
either
twice.
Set? Oh, okay.
I've tried twice. In fact, I even branded it Chairman of the Board of the Rings. And then I was going to write I started the Two Towers Strike Back.
Oh my goodness, yes.
And the Revenge of the King Returns.
That's amazing.
And that may happen yet. And,
you don't have a deadline, right? Yeah.
No. So I've got a couple other things going on right now, and I hope to. And the early chapters for the Two Towers Strike Back are great. I'm writing all the orcs like they're from The Sopranos.
Oh my goodness.
So it's a great chance to Google all of the best Italian swear words. They talk about gabagool a lot.
Yeah.
So it seems to work for them.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. And so I'll wrap up here. What should I read next? Do you have any book recommendations for me? Besides your own work?
Have you ever read any Fritz Leiber?
I don't think so.
He wrote these books set in a world called Lankmar, or I knew one was the world. Lankmar was this city, and there's two brawling rogues named Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser.
Okay.
And I read those before I read Tolkien, because Tolkien was such a hard read.
Okay.
Once you went beyond The Hobbit.
But
these guys are lovable scamps. They have one adventure while they're completely drunk. I mean, it's totally fun stuff. So I would read that.
Okay.
Or I would read politically correct Pinocchio,
Yes.
which is so awfully good. I can't even get it. It's one of my favorite James Finn Garner books.
Awesome. No, I did add them already to my to-read list on Goodreads, so I was like trying to keep track of,
Sure.
everything that you guys have going on here. So before we wrap up, just if you want to like tell our listeners where they can find you, like on social media or like your website or anything.
Yes.
If you do that sort of thing. I think I found you on Twitter at least, but I don't know.
I have a dreadful underutilized website, the nerdparodist.com.
Nerdparodist.com.
Because I am the quintessential nerd parodist.
Okay.
The Chicago Tribune said so.
Okay.
And,
you got the domain name, so.
Nerdparodist.com, and then I'm also on Facebook. There's a page with the same title. So,
Right.
Yeah, please stop by and you can find out about all the amazing secret special offers that no one has inquired about since the event started. But it's fun to do.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking a few minutes out of your day. And like I said, I had a lot of fun reading this story.
Just
and
made my day.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I look forward to if and when you decide to finish it up, finish the set. So thank you so much.
You bet.
And the second interview will be with Hafsah Faizal, who authored We Hunt the Flame. Megan did a really good job of tracking her down. She had limited availability, so this went really well. And we hope you guys check out their books. Both of them are on sale on Amazon. You can get them at your local bookstores, and enjoy the interviews.
Okay, so we're here with Hafsah Faizal, author of We Hunt the Flame, and her upcoming We Free the Stars, which is coming out this summer. Thank you so much. I know you only got like 5 minutes, but I totally appreciate you making the time to talk to us and have our audience, get to know you better and get excited for this story, to hear the rest of the story that, you built for us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. I'll just get right to the juicy stuff since we only have a few minutes. So you go into detail, like with the food, and the spices and stuff with the culture that you built in this world. Like, so does, do you have like a special relationship with food, maybe? Like, if that's a weird way to put it, but like, just because you go into so much like intricate detail in the story, or is it kind of just like how you helped build the world?
Yeah, so I love food, but one of my goals when writing was that I would write a food scene that would make a reader salivate one day, because I did read a scene. I've read scenes, a lot of them, but then there was just a few that like made me actually salivate. Yeah. And so I did a lot of research to make sure like the descriptions were accurate, and that these are actual dishes that people can Google and make if they like.
Yeah.
And so I did hear from a few people that it worked. So mission accomplished.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's awesome. So you switch between the two main characters like almost back to back, like one right after the other. You go back and forth really often. What was like the most challenging aspect of switching in between two different characters so frequently?
I wouldn't call any of it challenging because that was very much intentional. But I did like the idea of writing a scene and then switching just so that the reader would be able to see how Nasir saw a certain thing or how Zafira saw a certain thing, because they have very different viewpoints because they're from very different backgrounds.
Right.
Morality and their financial background and the like. So I wouldn't say any of it was challenging. More fun.
Yeah, no, of course. No, I think it's part of the process, right?
Right.
So, but this is like your first published work, and I think I heard that you're in the editing phase of the sequel.
I am.
So maybe you're not necessarily thinking about future projects, but can you see yourself like maybe learning from this experience and changing your writing process at all, like based on any other ideas you might have?
Definitely. I was never an outliner before, but I feel like now I might have to start working with like at least a basic outline, because it's hard to meet deadlines and like make everything work when I have limited time now that like I've got work published. Yeah.
And you're probably becoming like maybe a little more confident, a little more comfortable.
Yeah.
Now that you've done the first round and like you know what the process is like. And yeah, for sure. So we can wrap this up real quick. My last question is, what can readers look forward to in the sequel? Obviously, spoiler-free as much as possible.
Yeah, so the sequel will have a good amount of pining and angst, just like the first book. There'll be a bit of betrayal, and there is going to be one missing eyeball. I'm not giving context, but that's that.
Okay. No, that's a very interesting detail. It's like if I didn't want to pick it up before, it's like, okay, now I have to, you know. So, okay, and then before we go, you want to just tell our audience like where they can find you on social media or like your website and stuff.
Yeah, I'm online at hafsahfaizal.com and also on Twitter and Instagram at Hafsah Faizal.
Okay, awesome. Again, thank you so much. Like, I know you're pressed for time, and I really appreciate you taking the quick 5 minutes to talk to us, and I'm really excited and looking forward to your sequel.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
James Finn Garner has other works you could find, like the PC Pinocchio and the Single White Vigilante, all in this modern satire realm, and he seems to be nailing it. So we hope you enjoy this interview from C2E2.
We're here with James Finn Garner. He's the author of the politically correct Bedtime stories. James, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day, to chat with us for a few minutes and have our audience get to know you a little bit better. I unfortunately have not had the chance to read your series, but I did, like I was telling Paul before, that I did add them, and so I'm like, and I was reading the summaries, and I'm like actually really excited to get into them. So kind of like, you want to start off with like your background, maybe like what led you to kind of start with this series and go with this genre?
When I was a writer in my 20s, I really, really hated writing. I just absolutely avoided it. And a friend pointed out that I should just take some improv classes and get on stage and do some things. So the pressure of doing the next huge thing is off your shoulders. And it really freed up a lot of parts of me. And so I started doing comedy on stage. And the politically correct Bedtime stories came from a cabaret I used to host.
Okay.
And there'd be strange acts, and I would be the host in the middle of them all. And I wrote a story or two to read as filler. And they took off a little bit. People liked them. I tried to sell them in New York, and I got turned down 30 different times. And then they came out in '94 through Macmillan, and within a year or two, we sold 2.1 million.
Oh, wow.
So.
Sometimes you just gotta keep at it, and so many like accomplished writers, they fail like so many times, or I wouldn't say fail, but they get turned down so many times.
I get so many rejections that were like, it's too soon, it's too late, it's too long, it's too short, it's not, and you get bad Xeroxes of a rejection letter. Back then, I still have all the copies.
Oh, wow.
They're just terrible. Then you realize no one knows really anything. It's a timing thing, it's a persistence thing, and it came through, and everyone, once it sold well, everyone said, I'm the guy that chose the cover. I'm the guy that chose the price point.
Oh.
No, fine.
Right.
Cool. I'll just laugh all the way to the bank. That's cool.
Yeah, because these covers, they are pretty eye-catching. Like, how much say did you get into, like, the artistry of it? Like,
the first book, nothing.
No?
It was like nobody. And I got a little advance, and I was glad it came out.
Sure.
I was fine with that. And then as they got a little more popular, they asked for input, but I didn't have veto powers. So we just kind of talked it back and forth.
You didn't necessarily like have anything specific in mind, you were focused on just getting it out there.
Yeah, it was kind of out of I trusted other people for that.
Right.
So, and then, in any creative field, it goes up and down, and since the year 2000, I have not had a publisher, but then self-publishing came in. I've been doing the Clown Detective series since then.
Okay. So, like, how has your writing process changed at all? Like, the more experience you get, or having go through, that grueling experience of kind of just fighting to get your story out there? Like, now that you have so many copies sold, and like, the more experience you get, the more works you publish. Like, has your writing process changed as you become more experienced?
I'm not sure. I mean, I'm still full of doubt, as you do.
Sure.
You still feel like, I don't know if this idea works, but you at least have a little bit of fire behind you. Like, one of my dumb ideas was
right.
Back then, whenever it said, I'll never sell, and it's sold.
Yeah.
So that's good, but I've been just fortunate that, I can make a living at it, because it's always a juggling act.
Yeah, no, exactly.
It's a part-time thing for a lot of people. It's, you do it on your spare time, but it's what I do well, and that's what I'd rather do something well,
No, absolutely.
Something I put here to do, and I think I do it well.
But it's almost like a good pressure that you put on yourself. Like, that's how you get better,
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was, like, the most challenging aspect about like writing these stories, or like maybe a particular character, particular scenes? Like, what was the like most challenging part?
In the bedtime story?
Yes.
I had to do 2 books in a year.
Okay.
And we had a baby in the house.
Oh.
And I was just cranking it out. But I just kept saying, you know, I'm so fortunate to be able to do this. Like, I did a lot of press at Christmas time in '95 when PC holiday stories came out. And that was like 8 hours on the phone with different morning shock jocks.
Yeah.
Like that. But it's kind of like, I'll just do it. You know, everyone should be having my problems.
Yeah.
But then there's kind of like, and I won't go into that one shock jock I had, but it's kind of, who said, I should have written a book like this. And I said, well, you work 3 hours a day. What's holding you back, man?
Right.
I think that was like, what do you think the most difficult? I mean, the pressure to follow up on them was big. And then, and then realizing some stuff's out of your hands, because with publishing in general.
Yeah, absolutely.
People quit. You know, your editor quits, your publisher leaves the business, goes out of business. Agent changed, and just hoping for continuity and not seeing much. But it's how it is.
It helps you build like character. It helps get you experience, and like you don't take anything for granted once you reach a certain point.
Exactly right. Yeah, you can't take anything for granted. Stay open to new markets and ideas and things like that.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
You're going to have to change.
Exactly. So we can wrap up here. So same question I asked Paul. What should I read next? What's on my to read list from you?
For me, it would be Honk Honk My Darling, which is the very first Rex Koko private clown mystery novel in that series. I'm working on book 4 right now, which is called Notoriousness. But Honk Honk My Darling is the first clown noir mystery novel. It takes place in a ghetto full of washed up circus people.
Okay.
So it's like if Chinatown were shoved into Sarasota and you put Raymond Chandler in charge of it and let it go wild. So there's runaway elephants. There's a midget on the police force who is my hero's antagonist. The fat lady runs a burlesque house. Just everything you can imagine happens, and it's like really slapdash and crazy, and I love the hell out of it.
I'm looking forward to it already. Oh, is that it right there?
Yep.
Yes.
Honk Honk My Darling.
Okay. Awesome. I'll just have to take a picture so that I can add it to my list for sure.
It has, and I do include a glossary in the back because we use a lot of circus lingo.
Okay.
So you'll be talking like a carny before you know.
Okay.
You'll be saying abba-dabba, cherry pie.
Was there a lot of research that went into like coming up with that lingo, or were you already familiar with it?
It's really specialized. You know, it's like, but I could find it. I found a paperback from one guy from 30 years ago, and I interviewed some other people, and you just realize that it's a hilarious subgroup. And then if I didn't have a word, I just made it up.
Yeah. No, that's
like in book 2, I just started thinking of new words for money, because money was the entire plot of book 2. So you've got the real ones like simoleons and cabbage and bologna and stuff like that. Then you go to tart cheese, scalliabis, oosh. I just started making up words for money. I made like 30 words by the end of the
And then you got to remember what the words that you made up too.
Yeah, and I don't have an assistant. I can't afford an assistant.
So if real quick you want to let our audience know where they can find you on social media or whatever,
Yeah, look for my full name, James Finn Garner. I'm on Twitter, Instagram. If you go to jamesfinngarner.com, you'll see all the writing and places to go off from there. That's the landing point for all this stuff.
Awesome. Nice. Well, thank you again so much for taking a couple minutes and speaking with us. I'm really excited to start your series, and I have a feeling I'll be laughing.
All right, and thanks for listening to this episode here. Again, you can pick up the books at maybe a bookstore if you're willing to go Brave Public, or have their author pages over on Amazon. You can find Paul Erickson there, as well as links on the show notes for this episode here. Paul Erickson, again, the author of most recently The Wobbit, and Hafsah Faizal with the We Hunt the Flames, which is a part of her Sands of Arawiya, which that book series will have book 2 coming out here in January. You can also find James Finn Garner's work over at jamesfinngarner.com, or again, look up James Finn Garner over on Amazon or head over to the show notes for this episode.
Megan also has a few other interviews scheduled up for the end of the summer, so keep an ear out for future Cantina Conversations with these great authors. Megan's putting in a lot of work for you guys, for all our readers, so make sure you check these out.
All right, with all that said, talk to you next time, nerds.
See ya.